Masters of reality, going beyond what's on TV.
What up, everybody? Welcome to Masters of Reality, which is pretty much my version of Wayne's World and Pee-wee's Playhouse. And today, we've got somebody I think is very cool, not just because of their numerous television appearances, but we've hung out before and we're at a photo shoot where some things happened and talked about some crazy stuff. And now she's releasing her book, which is Nice Girls Don't Win. And I'm just really stoked. It's cool to call you a friend, and it's cool to have you in the studio. This is Parvati. How you doing?
I'm so good. I'm doing great.
I'm doing great too. I think the thing I really want to kick it off with is the thing I like the most about this book, that I think you come across as a very self-aware person, right? Like, I think the world can be divided into two people, self-aware and self-conscious. And like, self-conscious are people that think about like, oh, what does everybody think of me? And then self-aware people are like the ones that are aware how they're perceived and how they move through the world. And I think, as we know from seeing you on so many shows, you're very aware of how you like command a room or how you command your own presence. And I was like, today, like I told you before this, I wasn't like nervous about this. I just wanted to have a great time. But there was a part of me that's like, oh my God, like what if we don't deliver the goods? Like what if this doesn't rock? And so I guess my first question for you is, do you ever suffer from like imposter syndrome?
I think yes. I don't know if it's imposter syndrome or if it's when I get really nervous is when I have to do like a keynote presentation. If I have to memorize something and then speak on it in a linear way, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna forget. I don't know the words. Like, can I keep a linear thought? Because I'm more of like in the moment, very spontaneous. If we're gonna go do a podcast together where we're having a conversation, I know sparks are gonna fly and it's gonna be good. I really trust myself in these kind of improvised environments. But I used to do college speaking. Like I used to do it a lot. This was my career for a while. And I was like, every time before I would get on stage, I was like, like full panic because I would have to remember like an hour's worth of material and then present it in a way that makes sense to people. And then afterwards I was always like, did that work? Or I don't know. And then you don't get any feedback because half the people aren't listening anyways and they don't care.
When was the last time you did like a keynote speech?
It's been a really long time.
Good. Yeah. I haven't done anything like that in a while. And it's funny because I think like one thing I also love about you and your book is there is this like sense of coming into self and being cool with whatever's thrown your way. And I think that like sometimes people forget that even if you fumble, you can pick up the slack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And one thing that, you know, back to the whole thing about imposter syndrome is like, one thing I think people can take away from this book is no matter what's thrown at you, you can always power through. I think a lot of people think like, oh, she went on Survivor. She won $1 million. She's going to be set. But there's like a whole chapter about you kind of spinning out and being like unsure of yourself in your late 20s. You did the show. You weren't sure you're going to go back. And then you wanted to like start your own studio, right? Like, what are some of the ventures, including that one, that you had in your mind that you wanted to launch?
Well, I had this sense of, and I think a lot of people have this, and it like happens when you do something that's not necessarily like by society standards a real job or like respectable or worthy of like being taken seriously. So for me at that time in my life, all I'd done was I'd waitressed, I'd quit my real job at a PR firm, I'd boxed, and I'd done reality TV. So there was nothing I'd done that I could point to and be like, I am a responsible citizen who has a brain. It was like I did reality TV, and I was told that that was unserious and not like a thing that people
What do you think is like the worst resume you ever put together?
Oh God, I'm like, did I even put resumes? Like I never did jobs that I had to have a resume for. But at the time when I was doing, when I started building my wellness center, I was like trying to be taken seriously. So I put a lot of money and energy and time, everything. I put everything into this wellness center. And I was like, if I'm a business owner, then people will know I'm smart, and then they'll see me as like a smart, responsible person. And I just hated it. So I've realized through the course of my life, like anytime I try to do something for what other people will think of me, it ends up really badly. So then I just stopped doing that. And I just started doing fun stuff that I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's working out great.
I wish you or somebody told me that in my mid-20s, because like your wellness center, and this is how I know Sam, who's recording over there.
Hi, Sam.
I started a record label in college, and I was putting out bands and recording them in my basement. And I was like, oh, if I'm promoting other people's art, nobody can really judge me. And then all these bands started kind of blowing up and getting signed to big labels. And all of a sudden I was like living the dream, I thought. But then it was like, it took a long time for me to admit, maybe I don't like this and I'm putting on an act and performing for the critics or for people. Or maybe this is my way of trying to stay cool rather than staying true. When doing something like the wellness center or any venture, what was that process like? Because I'm always interested in when people come into like their awareness, right? What was that process for you of realizing maybe this sucks, you know?
Oh my God, it happened fast.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get out of it quickly. But I'd fully trapped myself. Well, I don't know. I also am the kind of person where I have a lot of interests. I love exploring and experiencing many, many different things in life. So I'd always thought, oh, maybe I'll open a spa because I really love spas. But I realized I really love going to spas and being massaged, not like having to do that for other people.
Oh, yeah.
But I did get my massage certification, and I got my yoga teaching certification. And I got like Reiki certified. So I was doing kind of all of these different things and teaching classes. I was teaching trampoline classes.
Whoa.
So much stuff at this wellness center, and it was just chaotic. I just did too much and I burned myself out. And then I hosted Around the World for free for CBS. So they hired me to host this show. This was when I actually really had the worst imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I was about to ask. I mean, like, was that a situation of like being desperate to stay relevant? Or was it like, in that part of the book, which was my favorite, you start thinking about how you can use all your resources. You become very resourceful, right?
Yeah.
And then you use your connections to get this whole new thing. So how did that come about where you started working for free?
No, well, they paid me to host the show, so I wasn't working for free.
I was about to say, dude.
But I was traveling around the world with no money. So this was the gimmick. The challenge is, can you get around the world in 100 days and host this show and produce this show with no money? And my friend Alex had done it for season 1, and then this other guy had done it for season 2 from Big Brother, Jeff Schroeder. And then they hired me to do it for season 3. So I was like, okay, I know this is possible because 2 guys have done it before. And I trust my ability to make connections with people and have them help me out. That's always kind of been my thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can do this. But then the television part of it and hosting it, and then the pressure of getting from place A to place B on camera in real time was really intensely scary. And the worst, most horrific thing in the world, they asked me to do. And they were like, this is the coolest thing ever. You're going to throw the first pitch at the Dodgers game. And I was like, oh my God. Have you seen me throw a ball?
Have you seen me? We went bowling. I was terrible, dude.
Oh my God, bowling, throwing?
Yeah.
No, if I throw something, like it goes right there, like right. I have a problem with the release, the timing of the release. So I was like panicking. I'm like, I'm sick. I can't do it. I was like having an anxiety attack. Alex was like, you can't be sick right now. Like you have to do this. So I went. I'm in the suite at the Dodgers stadium, and they're like, do you want to practice? So I'm in the hallway, throwing the ball in the hallway. They're like, breathe, you can do this. Just look, keep your eye down the line. And I was like, okay, we're gonna do it. So I'm like wearing sandals, open-toed sandals on the mound.
So sick.
I go out there, I throw the ball. There's this like insane picture of me looking like so gnarly, but it did almost make it to the plate.
Whoa.
I know.
Well, I guess it's like,
Best throw of my life.
I mean, for me, it's like, I can't even imagine you being so nervous about something so simple. I mean, it's a dumb question to ask, but it's like, what made you freak out? Not being able to do the ball or like getting ridiculed on the internet or something?
No, it's the ball. It's anytime there's like, you have to throw a ball at a target, I'm like, I freeze. Like, I can't do that. But if you want me to stand on a spiky poke for 9 hours, I got it.
110%. You know what's kind of another thing, back to like the Reiki and all that stuff. One of the most interesting parts about your book that I don't think people know about is the way you grew up. Mm-hmm. You know, is cult like the appropriate word? Like, what would be the appropriate word?
I mean, you can call it that. Yeah. I call it a commune.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't been deified yet as a cult, but it had a lot of the hallmarks of a cult. We had a really hyper-controlling guru who named all the children. I was named by the guru. She was sanctioning relationships. If your relationship wasn't sanctioned by the guru, she might split you up and then force you to shave your head and become a celibate monk, which is, I talk about it in the book.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up. I grew up in this Hindu spiritual commune where she would have these fire ceremonies at night, and it would look a lot like tribal council. Like, people would gather around this fire. The guru would come out, similar to how Jeff comes out. He sits in his place of honor. She would sit in her place of honor. And then she would lead these wisdom talks around the fire. And then there would be chanting and singing, and we would throw, I mean, I was a kid, so I probably wasn't participating in this part, but the adults would throw in their karma or their sins to be cleansed, so that the guru had that power. She could take away your guilt, your shame, your fear. She could offer you spiritual protection. And so people really like stuck with it because of that promise.
Yeah.
And I think I recreated my whole adult life. I mirrored it.
It's like a mirror image.
Yeah, and unconsciously. And then when I started writing the book, I started looking at my childhood for the first time ever. Like, when we left the commune, we didn't talk about it.
Tapped out.
Yeah, done. Moving on. Like, we had to create a whole new life and assimilate to a completely different society. So like, that wasn't going to help us to think about where we'd come from. So we just didn't. And I think a lot of like immigrants do that. A lot of refugees do that. You just cut ties with where you're from. And then you try to assimilate into this place for survival, which is what I did. Yeah. Coming out of this place. Like, I didn't even know what music was. I was like, what is this? Oh my God. It was like Whitney Houston, Paula Abdul, like
so tight.
Oh, Mariah Carey.
Van Halen, I hope. No, I'm kidding.
No, I wasn't into rock. I was into like R&B.
Yeah.
Like deep soul music.
Yeah, the thing that saddens me kind of like the most about your childhood situation is I also grew up doing like Reiki. My family had a personal astrologer, and people like look to those things, those meditation practices, as like a tool for self-reflection and guidance. And there's a lot of people that I think go to those things sometimes because they don't have anywhere else to go, and they're desperate for some kind of direction or path. And it's sad that it's like the place you grew up, and grateful you got out, but that somebody would be able to hold that over somebody almost as the thing that frees you becomes your prison.
It is like, I don't think in terms of binary anymore. And there's a whole chapter in the book called Beyond Binary, because it's not really helpful for me to think in terms of this is good, this is bad. Like, my childhood was bad. It wasn't all bad. And there's stuff in the book where I'm like, it gave me this whole sense of community, this whole sense of freedom, a connection to nature that my daughter doesn't have. Yeah. I am working on creating sort of a commune style family structure for her, but she doesn't have the same connection to nature that I grew up having, which set me up to win Survivor. Like, a lot of the things that I learned without knowing I was learning them in my childhood set me up for some really incredible stuff in my adult life. So I just think now, in terms of everything that happens in life, it's like there's shades of gray in all of it. And I also love astrology. It's so fun.
Dude, we're going to do your chart later. I'm so down.
Oh, yeah, no, I did a whole podcast on my chart, and I was like, people want to hear about this.
Oh, 100%. I think I asked you that outside the Viper room was the first question when you pulled up. I was like, hey, you want to take a selfie? And B, what's your rising sign?
Yeah, Aquarius. What's yours?
Scorpio. But
Yes, that's why we love each other. That's
and
why
my
we
Mars is in
vibe.
Aquarius.
Yeah, that's a special breed.
I think it's a sign that you're down to clown and you can take whatever life throws at you.
right.
Before like you got to this place of like comfortability and all this stuff, and you left the commune, you had somewhat a killer childhood living in Georgia, and then you end up on a show like Survivor. The time on the island for the first time when you're like unfiltered by society and what were some of the thoughts you had when you're realizing, oh, this mirrors my childhood? Like, what did you have like this flood of, parallels that made you realize you're set to go?
That is such a good question. I really hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
I think it just felt familiar.
Yeah.
There wasn't a conscious thought of, oh, this reminds me of how I grew up, but the smells felt familiar. And I think it evoked, like being on Survivor for the first time, evoked this sense of comfortability and familiarity in an environment where you're really not meant to be comfortable. Like,
Oh, yeah. I think the whole world knows I was that comfortable out there.
Yeah. But for me, I'm like, I was born for
Yeah.
this. And I could never have planned it. Hadn't even watched the show before I'd gotten cast on it.
Yeah.
It was a totally different era where they were recruiting people to be cast on these shows.
Yeah.
So I got really lucky. I was in the right time, right place. Or if you believe in fate or whatever, that's what it felt like for me.
I believe in fate. I think not everything needs to be overanalyzed or not everything needs to make sense, It's funny, the week we met and hung out, I was in LA to play a wedding and meet with a record label. And I had no plans of doing anything outside of that. And then funny, Anya, who's like the manager of this place, was like, we should really do like a Survivor watch party. Like, how often are you going to be on TV? I was like, hopefully again. But I was like, all right, let's throw a party. And so we did. And then by coincidence, I met my awesome girlfriend, Liesel. Yesterday was our 1-year anniversary.
Congrats.
Thank you.
And I was writing her like a letter yesterday. And I felt like as I was writing it, the wording was coming out wrong. Like I was like, it's crazy how this feels so normal, but I didn't want it to sound like normal in a bad way. It's just like, I don't question it. I didn't know this person more than a year ago. And now I can't picture my life without them. And I think, hey, you rock.
Are you crying? That's so sweet.
You're cutting the camera to me right now.
Is there a camera? Can we do
romantic.
that? No, I'm kidding.
Zoom in.
But before that, before going on Survivor, I had like you said you always wanted to be on TV, right? Like
Yeah.
that. You didn't know how, but you knew that was it.
I knew it.
Same thing when I was a kid. I was like, I want to be on TV and I want to be a rock star. And I had all these brushes with success and these breadcrumbs. And before going on Survivor, I was constantly like, why didn't this work out? Why is it like kind of like choking the aspiration so everything could work my way? No matter what I lined up, it'd almost get where I wanted to go. But I cared a little too much. And then I lost my mind in the jungle.
Yeah.
And then no sleep. I was like forced. I was like, remember there's hours by the fire where my body was just shivering. I was like, all I could do is like meditate and try and center myself. And the thing I took away from all that is like, you know what? You can kind of get comfortable in the madness. And if you're okay with whatever comes your way, other than being casted on that totally heinous cast, like you can make life work.
Except for Charlie.
No, I love him. He's the best. Except for Charlie. But now I feel like I have this whole new outlook on life where I'm like, I try not to stress over the things I don't control. And I try not to stress over the things that don't really matter. Like I'm doing what I love. I live in a dope apartment. I've got a killer girlfriend, a great set of friends. And something that I really like about this book is I think maybe a lot of people who are going to get the book who are Survivor fans are going to probably want to hear about moves and stuff like that. And you do talk about Survivor, but the way you talk about everything is kind of like a barometer of where you're at in that period of life. And there's this thing, and I know I'm on a rant, so just bear with me.
I'm with you.
There's this thing where like you finish heroes versus villains, everybody treats you like crap. You kind of internalize it. you're done with it. You're going on to your other gigs. You're moving through life, but you're thinking a lot about like, why was everybody mean to me? Why? Instead of being like, I know who I am, something kind of knifes into you, you know? And you're like, it takes a few chapters, but the journey I really like, including your appearance on Winners at War, which I know you're probably not the most fond of, is as you become a mother, which you're always mother according to the internet and all that stuff, but as you're literally becoming a mom and you're settling into healthy dynamics and you're changing all the things from your childhood, there is this sense of like changing how you navigate through the world. Like all of a sudden, instead of jumping ship in relationships, you're like, let me think this one out. Maybe I won't pull away, you know? And you view teaching your child as kind of like a chance to change yourself. And look where you are now. The book's not even out, but you've been on another TV show, which you did great on. Survivor's super popular again, and I don't think there's such a thing as a Parvati hater anymore. Like, I think you're like the most celebrated person on the Reddits and the fandoms and all that stuff. And that's why I opened this interview with like, do you ever suffer from imposter syndrome? Because I feel like you're living the real deal now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it really took me a long time to get there. And I think to your point, sometimes when we are brought to our knees, like rock bottom, like you're in the jungle, just like praying for the daylight to crack. And you're like, can I make it through this? And that, I mean, I had a dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
Like when it was this whole buildup of the backlash from the critics of the show at the time. My brother was struggling with addiction, my younger brother, and I could not have a healthy relationship. I just didn't know how to do it. I was very riddled with sort of self-loathing from internalizing the negative comments that I'd received from playing Survivor. So getting to this point of like, I am totally stuck in the dark. I'm in the mud. And then getting married, then having a baby, then like giving everything to this baby, trying to save a marriage that wasn't working, giving. And then my brother dies, like shockingly during COVID. And I'm like, oh, that was when like the dam broke. That was when everything I was trying to hold it all together, trying to pretend like everything was okay, trying to like push through, be strong. Like everyone I knew saw me as this very strong woman, this very sort of force of nature. And I was performing that, but I wasn't that inside until my brother died. And then I was in grief. Like I thought I'd hit bottom before, but when I was in like the depths of the grief of losing my little brother, I was like, okay, I got to get out of this marriage because life is precious and fragile and anything could happen at any moment. And I wouldn't be okay with myself if I stayed in this marriage and then died. Like I can't do it. Yeah. So I decided to leave my marriage. And then my husband at the time was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And I was like, oh my God. So it was like this real reckoning moment in time where it was like the worst stuff was happening all at the same time. And I couldn't perform through it anymore. I couldn't do my same kind of mode of be strong and push through and power through and don't feel and dissociate and just like survive it. It was like I had to really break down. I had to feel the pain. I had to face reality. And then I had to decide what I wanted to do to get out of it. So I think that being shattered like that and then choosing myself, even with this situation where the father of my child could die and I'm still going to leave this marriage because it's what's right for me and it's really is what's going to be best for everybody because it wasn't a good dynamic for us together in the house, especially not for our kid. So I was like, I'm going to choose myself. And then from there it was like everything turned around. Like I was like, it's okay for me to break up this family and I will figure out how to explain it to my daughter. And if her dad dies in the middle of the divorce, like that is going to make me feel like a horrible person, but I can handle it. Like, and he's still alive. He's still alive for everyone out there.
Shout out to the ex-husband, you rock.
Spoiler alert, he's still here. And he's
Do you think that, you know, we've read a lot of the same books, some of the books that you've listed. And do you think that some people there's like a thing they can do to prevent getting to the point where they have to choose themselves, like to stay healthy. Because I kind of think the best thing that happens sometimes is the dam breaking and you having to be put, forced into being a diamond in the rough. It's like one of the things I like about this book is it's not preachy about those situations. Like, do you think that for people who kind of need a spiritual breakthrough, it's better if it hits them in the face than a thing they can prevent?
Oh, yes, and
because we live in this weird time with like influencer culture,
right, and life is too easy.
Where it's like everybody's talking about the things they can manifest and all the ways,
right?
And I kind of think all that's a bit, and it's different things for different people, but I'm a bigger fan of the stories where you kind of don't have that option,
Well, this is why I think people love Survivor still.
Yeah.
Because it is a hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
There's a mythic element to Survivor that mirrors this timeless hero's journey that Joseph Campbell talks about. And I think that people are just drawn to in general because it is a rite of passage. Like, you have to get to a point, every single one of us is going to encounter situations in life that can grow us up, that can become a rite of passage, from cutting the cord and breaking with your child self and then really stepping into this fully embodied, awakened, realized wise adult. And then from there, when you can get that perspective of really trusting yourself and knowing that anything that's thrown at me, because I've been through all of this shit in the past and I have faced it and I've healed it and I know what my medicine is to help me through dark times like that now. I don't have to suffer. I don't have to be on my own. I don't have to prove myself to anybody because I've proven myself to me and I really trust myself.
Do you have any mantras that you like tell yourself throughout the day?
Oh, if I'm like doing a torture challenge on Survivor, say, then I'll be like, I got this, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like that's just sort of what I say to myself. If it's something like really hard, I can do this.
Like, what do you think was the hardest thing? Maybe being on like Winners at War and stuck on like Exile Island for like 50 days or something?
Winners at War was really hard because I had a postpartum body.
Yeah.
Which is you're flooded with hormones. You don't even know I didn't know how I was going to respond to anything. And I was crying at the drop of a dime. And I was like, I don't usually do this. This is weird. I can't control myself. And I missed my baby so bad. And I was in the middle of this situation with my marriage. And I was like, oh, I kind of don't want to do it anymore. But it was like a performance of mom.
I told you when we hung out that one time that was kind of my favorite Parvati appearance, and you looked at me like, is he actually a fan? Does he watch this shit? Like, and I was like, because I feel like, I don't know, when you've got like a lot of water in your chart, you're good at reading people, but I felt like we were seeing a different Parvati the last time we had seen. Survivor wasn't so popular as it was until that season, because the resurgence.
Right.
So everybody went back,
right.
And I felt like maybe you had a disconnect from how you were on the earlier seasons. But there was two different versions of you, and they were the same person, two birds of a feather. But the thing I liked about you on that one is like, you were just, it was like weird. It was like, you're like, oh, I've already done all the flirty shit. I'm just going to try and play. And, and then you get blindsided early. And a lot of your confessionals just talk about like, I can't believe I'm like out here and this is how it's going. But there was this like kind of adorable self-awareness to it. And talk about like life being a hero's journey or Survivor being a hero's journey. I felt like that was a good like addendum to the previous 3 seasons. Maybe not great on its own, but as a character, I loved it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Not great on its own. Definitely not a standalone season.
Yeah.
But I will say also, this is kind of funny. I used to do press for Survivor.
Yeah.
They would send me down to Cambodia or wherever, and I would host the interviews with the contestants before they would play. And I would interview Jeff. So I went out there with the journalists, and this was after I'd played my 3 seasons and before I'd played Winners at War. And there's a journalist named Gordon. I forget what our outlet he wrote for, but we were chatting and he's like, what's the next, like if you were ever to play Survivor again, what would be like the character we've seen? Because we've already seen the flirt, we've seen the Black Widow, we've seen the underdog, heroes, villains story. And I was like, it would be the lovable mother.
Yeah.
Like I haven't been that. And this was when I was like 30 years old, and I had my daughter 5 years later, and then played 40.
Yeah.
So I like preemptively
Well, you got
created
to do that on Deal or No Deal Island, you know?
I know, that was so fun. My 30-day role play. I loved it.
We had a great time watching it. Also, I love Dixon. I just want to shout him out. He's such good television.
He's so cute. We got to get him back on TV for my haunted house reality show.
Oh, wait,
for
what? Can we hear about the haunted house reality show?
It's currently being pitched.
Okay.
Amy Bean, who I do Nice Girls Don't Win podcast with, she and I co-created this show, and I can't tell you the title of it because people will steal it because the title is so good.
It's okay. You don't have to tell me.
We're pitching it, and it's like a ghosty, haunted
I'm good
competition
at scaring
show.
people.
I am too. I love jump scaring
Fist bump.
people. Do you scare Liesl?
Liesl does this
She'll
thing where
punch you.
she'll go like, "We're not doing that."
She shuts you down.
I'm like, fair. Wait, so you've got a show in development.
Yeah.
And I guess for like all the Survivor fans at home, you're about to be on like the Olympics of Survivor.
Yeah.
You got to keep your poker face on. What bust at 40? You're like, this is done. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
What brings you back in this time?
I don't really want to end on a bust.
Yeah.
Especially for a game that I feel like I was born to play. So when Australian Survivor called me and said it's a compressed game, it's shorter. For me at this stage of my life, leaving my daughter for any amount of time is difficult. So I was like, okay, a shorter game, yes. International players, yes, because playing a US version of Survivor, for me, I'm a target instantly. People don't want to play with me.
Also, you don't want to play with like all us new era dorks. It's like,
Sorry.
yeah. No, believe me, we're aware.
You get those puzzles.
Yeah.
But the Australian Survivor is like, it's kind of like the old school US Survivor. Like the challenges are brute strength. And I went to the gym hard before I left.
What's like your routine? Do you put like the Rocky 3 training montage on?
I hired this trainer named Samaj who is hardcore. She does like those Tough Mudders and those like electrocution races. And she just
What's an
is a
electrocution
beast.
race?
You know, you just like run through electrical wire and zap yourself, and then you carry like, you like push people over your head and like, I don't know. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I'm aware.
Okay, well,
Can I do
don't
that
know.
with you sometime? That sounds sick.
Never will
Okay,
you
you're
catch me
done.
doing that. You got to pay me so much money to do those kind of things.
That sounds like it could be the follow-up to the haunted house show.
Yeah, Samaj she should be on Survivor.
Yeah.
I've told her this many times, but anyway, she's a beast. She trained me up for Australian Survivor. But it was like, it was exciting because it was in Samoa, which is a place that I have unfinished business where I
love
lost
that for you.
to Sandra.
Yeah.
And that was really hard for me, losing Heroes Villains. And I was like, oh, you're doing a short game in Samoa with international players. I am in. And then Sari was on my cast.
Sick.
Come on.
No, that's the best. Do you feel like when it comes to do you think there's a spiritual reason maybe why you lost Heroes versus Villains, or like some karmic non-survivor related thing that came in, or you think people were just bitter and didn't rock?
Look, I believe that life works in mysterious
Yeah.
ways. And like I said, nothing's either all good or all bad. There's
Yeah.
shades of gray. I would not have the title for my book if I hadn't lost Survivor and been trolled by Sandra.
Yeah.
So like, I have a title for my book
Well,
because
you
of that.
Also wouldn't have the title for what's about to be your debut rock single.
Oh my God, is it called Nice Girls Don't Win?
Duh.
Yeah, rock it on.
We're gonna rock.
I can't wait.
But do you think that, like, I don't know, I know there's, at the time, that's my question for you. At the time, like, what would be like the ultimate, I guess, soundbite for, you know, in the book you talk about it, but I can't imagine what it's like feeling like you have unfinished business after playing what's like arguably every Survivor fan's dream game of playing, you know? Multiple idol plays, you're in the know the whole time. You've got control of like the worst person in the game, you know?
I know.
Yeah.
But the jury didn't see me like that.
Yeah.
Or they were mad at me for other reasons. I don't really know. I can't say why they didn't vote for me. But I do feel like in my heart, that Heroes Villains was the best game of Survivor that I had ever played. And so to lose that, knowing that I thought I'd played better than I even played in Micronesia, was really a hard blow for me. But yeah, like I think it's character building to have to struggle and to realize life's not fair, and it's not always gonna, you're not always gonna be rewarded for hard work. Like, you're just not.
I also think there's this thing too. It's like, I told Charlie this before he left for 50. I was like, it's kind of better you didn't win, because it's better to be like robbed and then build the story up and have some fire in the, in your engine or whatever. And I like how things have worked out for you since.
Yeah, it's cool. I feel like I'm in this place of, I know myself so well because of what I've gone through, and because I sat down for 3 years and wrote a book about my life. And I was willing to do the hard work of sitting with some really uncomfortable emotional material, and like work through it rather than skip over it and just do what's exciting and fun.
Yeah.
So sitting there and forcing myself to do it. This book is a service project. Like, I realized how helpful it would have been if my parents had talked to my sister and I about where we'd come from and how they were feeling when they were in the commune, and the things that were scary to them or weren't working out for them, because I think I would have had more of an understanding of where I came from and why I made some of the choices that I made. Because we all do whatever our blueprint is from childhood. We don't remember our childhoods like linearly, but it's imprinted in us. And so our unconscious, which is all we are as children, is unconscious, is just formed from 0 to 7, which I was in a commune with a controlling guru for that time, watching all the grownups around me give her all their money and like devote themselves to her. And I'm like, oh, well, this is what life is. That's what love is. And so I made some really crazy decisions in life and love because of this blueprint. So I'm like, okay, writing this book is an offering to my daughter, because I want her to know her mom, and I want her to know my story so that she can piece together her choices and her story when she's ready to do that. And I think I wrote from a lot of different eras of my life, so that any fan from age 12 to 70, no, 65, 60, could like read the book and relate and be like, oh yeah, I struggle with that, or I got stuck here. And so it's an emotional support companion for people in their life.
I think one of my favorite chapters is the non-binary. And I think, people have very weird relationships with themselves, with their sex life, with how they navigate through the world. And I think like you had recommended what was the name of the book?
Existential Kink.
Existential Kink. And it was like, it's not so much about sex so much as it is stepping into your own power and being aware of, your shadow self. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons I love that book, that chapter so much, is I think there's a lot of people who are very uncomfortable in their own skin. And I think, you talk about dating like rich doctors and Hollywood directors and taking a chance on, the nice person, and then meeting May and all this stuff. And in your, tent polling of all these relationships through those chapters, you talk about kind of, this exerting this energy. It's like, oh, I've done this feminine kind of worship me, come to me energy. I've never tried the opposite, trying to flip the script, flip the gender, become the man, wearing the strap-on appendage or whatever.
Right.
And I think it will be cool for people to read that and know that, okay, this doesn't have to be so taboo, you know. How do you feel about writing that into pages? Were you ashamed of it, or were you stoked? And like, as you say, it was your favorite chapter. What made that your favorite chapter?
That chapter, I was so thrilled and tickled and delighted to have met May and experienced a completely different kind of relationship to one I'd ever had before, because I'd only ever dated men before. So in meeting May, it just exploded my entire brain and just turned everything around me into like a cloud of pink sparkles. And it was so fun. And I was like, I want everyone to have this moment in their life. However they get it, they get it. But like, just where there's a point where just the box that you're in, that you think this is how life goes, this is who I am, like I am a woman in the world, and this is how a woman acts, this is how a woman dresses, I have always played the part of a woman. So especially in bed having sex, it's something that's very natural to me. I feel very confident in the bedroom with men. So when I was doing that with May, I was like, oh my God, I felt like I was in high school. Like, when do you get an opportunity to experience a complete shift in your identity at a later stage in life? And I just was so delighted by it and grateful for it. And I was so happy to write that chapter because it would be amazing if people stopped being so rigid in their thinking about how life works and how we should present ourselves, and that you can change if you want to. If something's not working for you, like, stop beating your head against a wall. Just turn around. There's a door behind you. You can just open it and walk through it.
100%.
Yeah.
Which is why I think
it's
time to rock.
It's time
You've
to rock.
done so many things in your life. You won Survivor. You've hosted other shows. You opened a wellness center. You closed a wellness center.
Okay.
Now you're the embodiment of wellness. You have a killer kid who now wants to be a singer.
Yeah.
What are some other things left on the horizon you want to accomplish?
Well, I've never written and produced or performed a song.
Wow. What are some of your favorite rock bands?
Oh my God. Paramore is great.
Okay.
I love them. And rock is not my first. Like, if you start saying names of like AC/DC, I love.
Yeah.
The Darkness.
Okay.
Kind of old school. There used to be a band that I would go to in Hollywood a lot that was like spoofed 80s.
Steel Panther. We're going to go to the whiskey,
Kings
dude.
of Leon. Like, I feel like I'm old.
Well, today we're going to throw you
My
through the
rock.
ringer because we wrote what's called a hardcore song, which is like a punk rock banger.
Yeah, I want
And
that.
I wouldn't say we wrote it. I wrote a guitar riff. I've got a backing track to go. I think we just need to do some work, like write some lyrics. So I brought The Artist's Way.
Is this how you write songs?
No, but sometimes I challenge myself and like I'll go like, oh, let me flip open a page. Oh, that's a good prompt, you know?
Okay.
Because sometimes you write songs from what you know. Sometimes you watch a movie, you know? And then I think the best songs are the one that's just like there's energy in the room and you go off the dome.
Oh.
And in your book, you know, you talk about Suri going back on 50 and you say, I'm going to do a little ceremony for her to win. So I think we got to do a ceremony for us to rock. So I brought my Nicolas Cage candle.
Love.
That I got the day that I met him.
Is this from Con Air? This
is from The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It's a movie he made where he plays himself.
Great.
And funnily enough, I don't know if I've told this story on camera, but the day I got the Survivor contract, I said, I need a sign from the universe to go and do Survivor. And I'm a diehard Nicolas Cage fan. Lo and behold, he announces he's doing an event in Miami that day. Crazy. I get in, I'm sitting there, and I'm going to ask him, have you ever done things you're like fearful of? I don't even get to the question. He starts just like off the dome going, you know, I was thinking about how I do all these movies, and I think when you're scared or fearful of something, it's a sign you should probably do it.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa, the video's on the internet too, viral, great.
Okay.
But then I talked to him backstage, and I was like, dude, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. He's like, what are you fearful of? I was like, going on Survivor's. Like, first he's like, oh, that show's still on, cool.
You're like, season 899,000.
And he goes, you should do it. So I went on, and now
Wait, Nicolas Cage told you to do Survivor.
Yeah.
You have to.
I know. And weirdly enough, small side story, but I saw Jeff a few weeks ago doing an event with Variety. And it was kind of like, you know, the same bits and whatever. But anyways, the woman who walks out to do the Q&A with Jeff is the woman who did the Q&A with Nicolas Cage. And when I walk up to Jeff to say what up and we're chilling a little bit, she goes, I know you from somewhere. I was like, I met you the day I signed on to do Survivor. She was like, with Nicolas Cage, right? So I feel like this is the appropriate candle.
Okay, this is what I'm talking about in the universe with the webs weaving together. We're all in a web.
It's like the No Doubt song,
I'm
Spider
walking in a
Webs.
spider webs. I love No Doubt. Also, Holla Back Girl was my boxing song.
Oh, sick.
That's in the book too.
I still don't know how to spell banana correctly, but
B-A-N-A-N-A-S. The shit is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S.
well, it's about to get bananas. Do you want to light this candle and say a prayer
this
to the
looks
gods
like
of
a
rock?
flamethrower.
Well, I made Liesl creme brulee for our 1-year anniversary, so the torch was.
How was it, Liesl?
Actually insane.
Watch your fingers and eyebrows. Yes.
All right.
That wick is very long.
I'm just gonna say this. Let's get our hands ready.
What a long wick you
Put your
have.
hand up like this. Get ready to salute, and this is gonna be our little prayer.
Okay.
For those about to rock, we salute you. Sick. Handshake.
Other hand. All right, so I'm thinking we should get this in sort of like the same zone as like Megadeth, Black Flag, Iron Maiden.
Nice girls don't win!
Yo, 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 Parvati Shallow on the mic, ready to drop it like it's hot.
Ready to rock?
You ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock.
Let's rock.
1, 2, 3, 4. You wanna be a villain? You better start chilling. Don't be a tool. You make the rules.
Today is the first day of the rest of your life.
Don't play it safe. Don't be anyone's wife. Nice girls don't win. Nice girls don't win. Good job. That's what's up. Sick.
You know when Saturday Night
craziest-
Live when they're
Yeah.
like making up the song at the same time?
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I feel like we're doing.
We got good. We
I'm
got
like
good
following
rock flow.
your mouth movements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
that was
scream
great.
very loud.
Yeah, I love it.
I want to thank you all for tuning into Masters of Reality with Parvati Shallow. I had a good time chilling hard, and I had a good time rocking out. Thank you for being you.
Thank you for having me and being you.
Appreciate
Yeah, I was going
it.
to say being me. Thank you for being me.
I am you, and you are me, and we are all together. Talk soon and rock sooner.
Bye.